The Bones and Bobbins podcast is now on Patreon.
Yay!
How would you like access to bonus episodes, digital extras, exclusive merch, and more? Join us in the Curiosity Shop at patreon.com/bonesandbobbins.
Your generous support helps make the show happen and will also earn you our very eternal gratitude and entry into our private Patreon-only Facebook group.
Which is delightful.
It's true.
Other Facebook groups wishes they could be us.
Oh, they definitely wish. And they don't get to be.
Nope.
Mm-mm. No, I'm sorry for them.
Indeed.
In a dusty old shop on a forgotten old street, you'll find two witches with books 3 boxes deep. Next to rusty old needles and faded red thread, you'll come in for yarn, but leave with pigments instead. Whether poisons or patterns, we're always discreet, where creepy and crafty and morbidity meet. Welcome to the Bones and Bobbins podcast. Hello, morbid makers. We are your slightly creepy,
Mildly disconcerting,
somewhat sinister,
delightfully discomposed,
opaquely odd,
narrowly morbid.
marvelously misanthropic hosts.
And this is Bones and Bobbins, Season 3, Episode 12, Professionally Sneaking.
So good. I'm Haley from Red Handled Scissors and the Very Serious Crafts podcast, and I go by she and her.
I'm Natalie from Uber Dark Designs, an official true crime creative, and my pronouns are she and her.
Yay.
Yay!
Hooray, pronouns.
So, hey, hi, how you doing?
Oh my god, I don't know. I am sitting in my new workspace.
You are,
so
it looks lovely.
That has successfully happened. The reason that I am sitting in my new workspace at all is because I have been looking for these stupid headphones since literally the day we moved, and I need them to record, and people may have noticed that our audio quality has been iffy the last few episodes, which would be entirely my fault. So I finally found them in the absolute last box in my workspace.
Of course.
I opened every single other box. And for a moment I was like, where the fuck are they? Like, if they aren't in here, what did I do with them? I don't know. So
Yay
I found
for
them.
finding them.
Yep. And then as a prize for having found them, I got to hang out with a bat.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Sky puppy!
It was so cute.
So
I was
cute.
so surprised.
You're like, hey, I really do have a bat in my belfry.
Mm-hmm. I did. And yes, for those of you who maybe aren't following me on social media, you have not yet met Lord Byron the Bat, so named because of the drama that he caused and also the sounds. Oh my goodness. Lord Byron was not pleased to be captured. You know how you catch spiders under glasses and then you shove a little cardboard or paper or whatever under there and bring them outside?
Yep.
That's more or less how we removed the bat.
Oh boy.
Well, I have a long and storied history with removing bats from places bats shouldn't be, from working on Mackinac Island in Michigan, which has a lot of bats. But I didn't really, I'm not 19 years old anymore. And B, there was a stairwell right behind me.
Oh,
because it was on the landing of the third floor. And so we brought in like the pool skimmer net, and Jeremy and I suited up. You know how those like caricatures of two kids in a trench coat? Well, we both kind of looked like that because we were just going through. I haven't unpacked winter stuff yet. And so we were just going through whatever clothes we could find and putting anything thick enough to be safe on. So, like, I'm in a trench coat and a sun hat with a bandana around my neck, and Jeremy is in my Carhartt bomber jacket and some sort of bicycling ephemera.
So this is your holiday card for this year?
I did not take a photo of us. I should have. We were busy because I discovered Lord Byron as the sun was setting. And I had been vacuuming directly under Lord Byron.
Wow.
And that didn't wake the bat up. But I figured it was not going to be very long before the bat woke itself up.
Well, I was like, hey, I'm hungry. What's up?
And, I mean, it was sleeping during normal bat sleeping hours and was certainly not being aggressive. I have no idea how it got in there. So I wasn't really worried about, like, it being rabid or anything because it was behaving like bats should behave. Yeah. But still, you don't fuck around with bats because if you get bitten or scratched by one, you gotta go have all the rabies shots anyway.
Yeah, those are not pleasant.
No, do not want. And so...
hard pass.
Hence the gear. And so...
wisely so.
Yep, multiple ladders involved. Jeremy is slightly taller than me.
I was going to say, you're not particularly statuesque.
No, so he was the person who, the second ladder that we brought up finally worked, and he was the person who got the bat. So the plaster of Paris mixing container that I had purchased for patching plaster, well, that became the bat jar. And we caught Lord Byron. They woke up. They were really pissed off to be awoken that way. And there was like, frr, 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 as it echolocated at us. And then we realized that we had the window propped open. And so the chances of Lord Byron flying directly back into our faces, pretty solid.
Yeah.
So we couldn't just open the thing. So we had this bat in a plaster of Paris mixing like bucket with I had just grabbed the closest like sturdy airmail envelope, and it happened to be filled with scented shelf liners from England.
Okay.
Which I didn't know, at the time, but
fancy. So, Lord Byron's gonna be real fancy now.
Yeah, so I shoved it. Jeremy had the bucket. I shoved the cardboard underneath, and we got Lord Byron outside, and then we realized we needed to close the window, also still open the container. And so here we are, Jeremy with his hands out the window because we had been passing the bat back and forth while we went down ladder steps because we are miniature. And so he ended up with the bat out the window. And then I had to close the window. But I had to close the window as much as I could, but not so much that Jeremy couldn't move his arms to pull them back in after letting the bat go. It was a whole thing. No humans nor bats were hurt during this. It was actually significantly faster and more gentle than it sounds like it would have been. There was no drama. It worked the first time.
Well
and
done.
Lord Byron flew off literally into the sunset. So
Nice.
it's fine.
Well done.
Yeah. And Professor Legs, my giant spider in the window, had a sex friend this week.
What?
Yeah. Turns
Wow,
out
you are just the party house.
wolf spiders can have sex friends.
I mean, good on ya.
Yeah, pretty sure that I'm about to have an army of baby wolf spiders.
Nice.
But that's okay because they are outside by the murder shack. I can just see them through the window.
Would they be cubs then? 'Cause
I have no idea.
whoops.
I like it. Let's go with it.
We had exciting animal weeks.
We did, yeah. So how are you?
I'm all
I have finished my drama.
It's an emotional week here.
Yeah.
My baby turns 18 and moves into college dorms on Saturday. And as much as I want to tell myself I'm prepared, I am squishy and I will most likely sob the entire drive home.
Wait, they're turning 18 and moving on the same exact day?
Yep.
Oh my god, that's too much.
It's right. That's what they said too. They're like, it's so much, and I'm like, yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
So I've been processing that, and it's been just a lot of emotions going on in the house. Yesterday I went to pick
No shit.
right, my youngest from a friend's house. It's like an hour away from us, and we're on the way back, and there's a set of sheep that I really like, and it gets moved around because grazing and all of that.
Right.
And so I was looking for them, and I was like, oh, there's my sheep. And all of a sudden, the youngest was like, there's one in the middle of the road. And I was like, what?
What?
So you turned it back around, and sure enough, one of the babies had gotten out, and we still don't know how it managed to get out. So we're trying to figure out how to get this lamb back in, because there's no people for, around at all. It's just these, animals in the...
No, and lambs aren't exactly the easiest creatures to
No,
move.
it wanted nothing to... that lamb wanted nothing to do with us. There was, however, a mama sheep who was getting head pets from us while there was a baby trying to nurse on her, and she's like, look, I'm getting some love, just back off. So that was fun to try to figure. And then there's two different things, so it's like we don't even know which one it came out of. Yeah. So
that's stressful.
It was stressful. So I ended up posting in like the local, Facebook group, and I was like, hey, number 68 got out. if this is yours, we tried, and
yes, please go collect your sheep.
Yep. So I did give myself a pat on the back for not having stolen the sheep, because it was very cute and I wanted it. But
I mean, sheep are a lot of work.
Yeah.
I don't think you have the infrastructure for a sheep.
Not yet, but it has given me ideas.
That's fair.
So then, like, another 10 minutes down the road, and I don't know what it is with us and turtles.
Yep.
But the tiniest, maybe 3-inch turtle was just
baby.
in a circle in the middle of the road. And I was like, son of a... So we pull over, and of course the only thing we have in the car at all to try to get this turtle with was an empty big gulp in my cup. So,
sounds correct.
So Youngest is trying to get it in the cup, and all of a sudden it just takes off running.
Oh no.
And it has these short, stubby little turtle legs, and it's like, bloop, 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 and it's going like the wrong way. There's farm equipment coming at us. There's a minivan.
Buddy.
It was funny. So we finally got him all scooped up, and then released him back over, because he was in the middle of nowhere. Like on one side was just like clay rock formation, like in hills. So there was nothing there, and then he came out of like cow pasture, so there was like nothing there. So we closer to the Kickapoo, we found some nice marshy water buggy area, and we turned him there so that he would have a better chance than trying to hitchhike on the road. But I don't know what it is. This is like our fourth turtle rescue. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the first one was the giant snapping turtle.
Huge, yes. This one was our smallest, and it was very cute. I've never seen a turtle waddle run like that, and it was just fucking adorable.
Ooh, Jack figured out I'm in here. She must be able to hear me. I can hear her outside the door.
Oh.
But she can't come in.
Nope.
Oh, that was loud. Damn, Jack. Seriously. Wow.
So,
yeah, it's been a very rural week.
Yep, my friends are just convinced that I'm just like a breath away from a Disney princess at this point, and I'm like, I don't know. I put them back. I don't keep them, so I don't.
Imagine what will happen when we are in the same location.
Oh,
because we've never been in the same location.
Nope.
Physically. But, oh, Jack, fuck off. She's like, no. But yeah, we shall see. Yep. There was, speaking of local Facebook groups and lost animals, this week there was, anybody lose this duck? And it was just like, I found this duck walking along this street. It was done with its adventure. Come get your duck.
Come get your duck. That's adorable.
So somebody took the duck home so it didn't have to continue to wander. But like...
Gotta love it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It's when you get far enough out of the city where the small town is cute and not scary.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yes.
Times.
Oh boy. So yeah, it's nice to see another human since I have been seeing animals and arachnids and ghosts.
Ooh.
Just the usual.
The usual.
I've got orbs this week.
Oh.
I don't even believe in those.
I have a plethora of daddy long legs. Like a
me
plethora.
Too. I'm not even noticing those so much anymore because they are a fact of living, not... Yeah. Oh, I miss Brooklyn. Oh my goodness.
That's yes. Right, you're not fond of the spiders.
No, I mean, let's just say I've named one.
Yeah.
And it is in a place that I can't get to, and that it can't get to me. So we're cool.
It's a start.
Yep. And I mean, she's fascinating because her web is right up against the window, and it's, a tunnel web because she's wolf spider.
Yes.
So you can see it's like an ant farm almost. Yeah. But when suddenly, now she's large. Like she's molted twice this week, I think.
Wow. Growing Gale.
I guess it's spider growing season. I have no idea.
She got her groove on, and now she's molting a bit.
Yeah, so I guess it was between last week and this week. I think she's like it once a week at this point. But oh man, when I looked out there last weekend and saw 2 of them that size hanging out there, I was like, no.
Nope.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Just let her know that it says in the rental contract, no guests.
I mean, I don't begrudge her a sex friend. But
as long as she kicks him out after,
I don't think male spiders usually survive much longer than that.
And that's fine.
Yeah, totally fine. Anyway, it's not there anymore. So,
alrighty then.
Yeah, that'll work. Anyway, that is entirely way more than needed to be said about life in rural everywhere.
You know what we should do? We should take a little quick break to thank all of our fantastic Curiosity Shop members over on Patreon.
Oh, yeah.
All new
Yes,
members. Yep, all new members. You receive a totally normal and not at all creepy welcome right about here in a show. And if you join us today, not only are you going to get like a ginormous backlog of episodes that nobody else other than Patreon supporters have received, you'll also get a shout out too. True.
Wow. It will be shocking to all of you to hear that I have lost my place. That's okay, though. I found it again. So, dear Patreon supporters, you're the best.
The best.
You're the best. And we would totally go explore hidden old graveyards in the woods with you.
Absolutely.
Especially now that spooky season is approaching.
Yes.
So excited.
Oh, so excited. So excited.
Yes. So excited. So, speaking of excite.
Yes.
And also maybe kind of spooky.
Yes.
And definitely hidden.
Absolutely.
Do you want to talk about spies?
Yes.
Would you like me to tell you about spy gadgets?
Absolutely.
Would you like me to do that first?
Sure.
Okay. Let me tell you about the ridiculousness that is the actual, for real, secret agent tools that exist. And there's a really wide range of these, and so I picked a time period.
Nice.
Specifically World War II, because we've already talked about it so much.
Do you want to hear something a little funny? Do you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
I picked a period too, and it's Cold War, right after World War II.
Excellent. We're nothing if not predictable.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, let me tell you about spy gadgets.
Yes.
Obviously, we can't talk about spies without talking about James Bond.
Yes.
Because that's just how life works.
Yeah.
And, of course, when I was looking for spy gadgets, Ian Fleming, the author of the James Bond books, came up several times. And I found out something that probably most people who are big Bond fans know, but I am not really part of that world, so I didn't know. But Ian Fleming was a former commander in the British Naval Intelligence Division during World War II.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was the personal assistant to Rear Admiral John Godfrey, who was the director of naval intelligence. And so, reasonably, Ian Fleming based many of the characters that he wrote on actual colleagues and acquaintances from his wartime service.
Nice.
That didn't really please all of them.
I want to know who Octopussy is.
Apparently the real person who I elected not to track down, so I wouldn't then elect to go down that rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. But the real person who Goldfinger was modeled after was pissed, and they settled out of court, and Ian Fleming nearly changed the name of the person from Goldfinger to Gold Prick in the book.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, anyway, so I thought that was pretty funny. He didn't do it, but fair enough. And while I was sort of going down the Ian Fleming rabbit hole, I also learned that the name 007 likely came from a German code 0070, which was cracked by British codebreakers in World War I, and then shortened and made to sound pretty. So.
You're right.
Yeah. So the real deal. We're going to talk about the Special Operations Executive. And a lot of this info in this section specifically is going to be from British GQ magazine. Right?
Nice.
And there is an article on the Secret War exhibition at the Imperial War Museum.
Okay.
Which we
Tracks,
have discussed before. And so I put a link to it, I believe, so you can click through if you want to see photos. Photos will be in the show notes as well. So the SOE was set up by Winston Churchill in 1940, and Jack is outside my door again. And this espionage organization boasted both the spies and the gadgets needed to battle the Axis with tools that were beyond ships and planes and battalions of soldiers. And they, for their part, brought both the sneak and the toys.
Ooh.
And the toys are fun.
Yes.
As someone who likes a good multi-tool, like these really scratch that itch. Right. So, from his top secret digs in London, Charles Fraser Smith of the Ministry of Supply, who we've also mentioned before, put the tools of modern spycraft into the hands of Allied spies who were fighting against the Germans and the Axis powers. And a reminder for people who have not read world history since high school, which I think is probably most of us, Germany, Italy, and Japan are the Axis powers.
Yes.
Yes. And fun fact related to the obvious connection between James Bond and the very real gadgets, Fraser Smith called his tools Q gadgets.
Oh! I love
which
Q.
were named after Q ships and Q boats, which were merchant ships that were secretly heavily armed military ships in disguise as cargo or trading vessels. So that's where the Q came from in the James Bond books.
That's fun. I did not know any of that.
I didn't know any of that either. And so that was kind of cool. And I also didn't know specifically about the Q ships and Q boats. So that was kind of cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And so we arrive at the actual tools in the spy gadget arsenal. So I'm just going to take you on a little walk through basically the tour that the GQ magazine folks went on when they looked at the exhibition at the Imperial War Museum.
Okay.
And then we'll branch out into some other things that aren't listed here. But the first thing that is usually talked about, it would seem, in all of the articles that I looked at, is the pencil knife. Not to be confused with a pen knife, which is an actual thing that is not that.
Yes.
But there were stiletto blades hidden in pencils, and they were exactly what it sounds like. A sharp-tipped dagger hidden inside a normal wooden pencil. And there was twine wrapped around the base of the blade, which could be reached through the blunt end of the pencil. So the pencil itself was reasonably sharpened, so it was usable also.
Gotcha.
So it looked
legit.
like it was what it was.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was really heavy. I couldn't find anywhere if it would have been obvious if you picked it up, but it certainly wouldn't have been obvious if you just saw it. And so, from what I gathered, although it's explained in ways that don't necessarily make sense to me, I think you remove the stiletto blade by sort of digging into the blunt end of that pencil and then finding twine, which then could be used to pull the rest of the blade out. So sort
like
of like
a
opening
tampon.
a cigarette pack.
You're like cigarette pack. I'm like tampon.
I mean,
yes.
I can't decide what that says about us as individuals. I think it says that you live in a house full of menstruating persons. Anyway, so once removed, the twine could be used to attach that blade to the pencil to create a handle, which is kind of cool.
That's very cool. It's also, I would not be, I don't know that I would have the dexterity to work that thing. Like, I don't know how I would do with that.
Yeah, what I was thinking was, I mean, it sounds like that's one of those things that you would do if you had time on your hands.
Like if you're tied up and that's the pencil is how you're going to get your rope cut so you can get free kind of thing.
I mean, it was made for close combat because, I mean, it's a stiletto. It is made to stab. That is the only part that's sharp. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Like, you would have to have time to get that out.
Right.
And I'm not sure in practice how that actually worked. And so next we have silk escape maps, which we definitely talked about in Season 2, Episode 9. Keep your filthy paws off our silky parachutes. Which is still funny to me now. So escape and evade maps made out of extremely durable but extremely light silk didn't rustle, and they could be folded small enough to fit anywhere from the inside of hems to the inside of board games. And they also, as it would turn out, made really great fabric for silk lingerie for relieved girlfriends of the RAF pilots who had carried them. And we definitely talked about that in that episode. So I'll link to that in the show notes, and, you know, you can go learn a bit more about that.
Because they're pretty and
they
fun.
Are pretty. So then there were other pencil-shaped things, which were detonators disguised as pencils. And they didn't really look like pencils, except at a glance. They were the right size and shape to blend in with other stationery supplies, but they weren't, like, actually put into pencils, I think, because it wouldn't have been terribly practical. But they're pretty straightforward. There was a vial of corrosive cupric chloride in the copper end of the device, and when crushed, that would erode a metal wire inside that was used to hold back a striker on the other half of the detonator. So if you stomped on the copper end and then stuck it into an explosive and ran like hell, the striker would light the explosive for you.
That's cool.
Once it eroded through that metal wire.
Better hope you're up on your cardio.
Yeah, I don't know how fast it worked, but yeeks. So the next thing that was in this GQ article I'm fairly certain is also the basis of a lot of cryptid sightings.
Oh.
So there were these weird ass devices that were basically, I think, rubber casts of the bottoms of feet that could then be attached to the bottom of boots. So while you were in Japan, it would look like normal bare footprints of locals walking around and not spies or soldiers.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah, so
those would be really big fucking footprints. if you're trying to make it, they'd have to be bigger than the boot, unless they're like platformed somehow.
Yeah, I mean they were platforming, like they didn't fit over them. They definitely,
like old-fashioned roller skates, how you clamp them on.
Yeah, they look a lot like that, and there's a photo of those in the article too. But I'm fairly certain that we can go ahead and blame some World War II soldiers for most of the hoax cryptid footprints out there. I think that's
valid.
What happened. Yep. So then there were other things that are really up my alley, like a coin that's actually a tire slashing knife, which is exactly what you think it would be. It's a silver disc with a sliding blade, and it kind of looks like a Swiss Army knife can opener. And
I like it.
Yeah, it very straightforward. And then there were gas pens, which were a US-made gadget that is basically the body of a pen but sprays tear gas. So it's basically the exact same thing that most of us lady-bodied folks or smaller folks have on our keychains.
Yep.
Basically. Only this is the real hardcore version. And I don't think you're actually allowed to disguise the packaging of like pepper spray or mace anymore. You used to be able to when I was younger, but I think that is not allowed anymore, which...
But...
I mean, anybody could have it. Like, imagine somebody on the subway clicking a pen.
Right.
So...
Like, I see it, but at the same time, I'm like, but I can, go and buy an AR-5. Like, it just...
it's way easier to do that than it is to buy, say...
mace.
Pepper spray in New York City.
Yeah.
You have to go to a pharmacy, sign a book. It's a whole thing.
A pharmacy?
Or you can go to police uniform dealers or firearms dealers.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, I miss Brooklyn. Anyway, so beyond gas pens, there were also suitcase radios, which are, I mean, exactly what everybody thinks they are.
Right.
Everybody can imagine them, and you've all seen them in, like, old school spy movies. But I'm not sure that the impressiveness... Sorry. I'm not sure the impressiveness of this item is really as obvious as I feel like it should be. These are basically the precursor to laptops and cell phones. They were literally a portable radio station, and they were small enough to fit in a suitcase, and they were...
Is impressive. That is impressive given the time period when you think about the size of just electronics in general.
Yeah, and they were built specifically by miniaturists, and they were transmitters and receivers that could be easily concealed, and some had a range up to 500 miles.
Wow. That's big.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, these are like the original long-distance wireless communication.
Yeah. Wow.
which is really cool. I mean, not the original, I guess, but
yeah,
you know, they are very much functional in a way that I wouldn't have guessed for the time period.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, because we can't have nice things.
No.
But also we can have nice things.
No.
Because we can buy anything on the internet.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on the auction block,
Ooh.
a collection of more than 100 World War II spy gadgets that had been amassed over 40 years by Dunkirk veteran Arthur Muggeridge.
Oh.
Who served in the Royal Engineers in the war. Went up for auction via East Bristol Auctions in 2020. And I just need to clarify that this information came from The Sun.
Okay.
Famously dramatic. And this may be why these specific items were called out, but they're also, like I said, the reason we can't have nice things.
Yeah.
So, thing one, and I linked you to this.
Yes.
And there are 14 photos involved that are well worth the look. So, first thing, a very casual exploding rat. Yeah.
It just popped up and I just saw a rat with something shoved up its ass. Oh my
There we go. So, this is what I have written down to say exactly what it sounds like. A taxidermied white rat with a pencil fuse stuck up its ass.
Oh my god.
Yep. Like you do. Yeah. They didn't even get used, is the thing.
Really?
Because the Germans found out about them before they could get used. They were meant to be, like, thrown in factory furnaces so they could go off, but not be noticed until it was too late. But because exploding rats are absolutely the kind of thing that you talk about to double agents while very drunk, the Germans knew.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's how they knew, but that's how they knew.
There is a movie called Wanted, and I really like it. It has, it's got Angelina Jolie, I think James McAvoy. Gist of it is that he's supposed to come from a long line of these people.
Is this a recent thing?
It's 2008. Okay. But there is one of my favorite, like, action series, and it's like scenes in a movie. Mm-hmm. Is in that movie, and it involves a shit ton of rats. And so just makes me kind of smile. I mean, it's sad because, you know, the rats are explosive, but they're real rats. And not, obviously, they're CGI rats, but this reminds me of it a bit. So.
Yeah, I mean, at least these rats were dead, I guess.
Right? Like, it had another life? I
don't... And so, also included in this group of auction items were so very, very, very many hidden knives.
Yes, there's that coin.
Yep.
That coin is well worn.
Right. I imagine that was just so useful that whoever had it just kept on using it in life after the war, I hope. But the hidden knives included fountain pen daggers, which I personally think is kind of a step up from the work required for the pencil dagger.
Yeah.
And again, in an enhancement from the original tire slashing coin, there was a coin with a blade, a file, and a pair of hinged scissors, which was kind of cool. A shaving mirror with edges that were razor blades.
Ooh.
Which, ouch, but also, I also don't think I'd realized that shaving mirrors were like a pocket device.
Yeah.
But I guess that makes sense if you are a soldier. So there were also, in this collection, compasses for every outfit.
Yeah, that lipstick has seen some better days.
Yeah. So you could have a razor blade compass to go along with your razor blade shaving mirror, I guess. That seems like a lot of razor blades. A chess piece with a compass, dice compasses, and a lipstick compass if you were a fashionable lady spy about town. There are also apparently like fly button compasses. There are lots of places that you could stick a compass.
Yeah.
It turns out. And then another thing that we touched on a bit in our episode on silk maps and parachute silk, there were chess sets with compartments in them that were sent to prisoners of war, and also other games, because it was really ideal to send, to be able to hide like maps and stuff in these games, which were allowed to be sent to prisoners of war. Like, it was a normal, like, sort of being humane even during the awfulness of war, that people in prisoner of war camps
could have chess set.
Could have like a Monopoly board or whatever, which sounds questionable, but there are lots of examples of things like that. A few more of my favorites mentioned from this auction were a hacksaw clothes brush.
Ooh.
Which seems a bit dramatic to me.
That is.
To be clear, it was in the handle, not the clothes brush part, but that would be a surprise if you were trying to clean up your trousers. Dominoes with maps hidden inside them, which were really cool.
They're very cool.
Like,
they also look giant.
I mean, dominoes themselves are pretty big.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I like that they come apart. And then there are maps.
Yeah.
So there's also a miniature spy camera, a taxidermy pigeon with a messenger canister leg band, like you do. The precursor to the ever-present bro staple of paracord survival bracelet.
Yes.
There was a vest that could be unraveled and used as a rope.
That's smart.
Which I think is cool. Like, good job, guys. And then there were also a variety of other things involving foods. It seems to me that the Germans were more interested in planting things that explode in food, but there were chocolate bars that exploded a certain number of seconds after you broke off a piece.
I'd be real mad.
Like, they were metal covered in actual chocolate.
That would just piss me off. I'd be like, dude.
Yeah.
Thought I was getting chocolate. What the fuck?
Exactly. So, I linked to an episode of the Daily Mail that has a bunch of that kind of gadgets. So, like, chewing gum. There were turnips. There lots of different things.
Can you imagine?
That should have been safe.
What took you out? Turnip.
Yeah. Man, that would be embarrassing.
Right?
My sweet tooth. That is why my finger here is no longer with us. Yeah. There were also pencil and pipe pistols. Ooh. Which... okay. I don't understand the physics
Yeah.
of those. But also, that's fine. I don't need to understand the physics. They certainly would have surprised someone, even if they weren't fatal. I just don't feel like there could have been enough explosive behind the bullet. But I don't know. I have never shot a pipe or a pencil. So, whatever. And I did link to those, and there are photos of the actual thing in the show notes at a wargaming.com website, which makes sense.
It does.
Then, while I was obviously trotting through the world of bad idea World War II spy ephemera, what one can buy on the internet, I found a truly overwhelming 2017 auction, which I guess depending on where you I'm gonna leave it there. Anyway, so I found just this mind-blowing collection from a 2017 auction, and I linked to the jump for the page where the spy stuff starts, but I do want to give you a heads up. There is certainly Nazi ephemera also as part of this, because it's World War II broadly. It doesn't seem to be glorifying it in any way. It just seems to be
still gross
there. And so be aware of that if you click on it. And you should also be aware that some of the articles that are showing spy devices also have jewelry and other places that might hold a capsule for unaliving yourself.
Yes.
So those exist. So yeah, so many toys.
So many toys.
So many toys, and I want to play with most of them.
Right?
I do not, however, want to play with an exploding rat.
No. I am with you on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, that was fun! So, my initial plan was to cover the history of disguises used for spying.
Bet that was a long...
Yeah, and then I came across an epic story of a couple that pretty much kick all of the ass. But before I get to them, I'm just going to lay a little bit of groundwork and take us back a little past World War II to the Cold War. And this is where spy disguises really came into play, and our couple story begins.
Okay.
For those of you listening that are not familiar with the Cold War, here's a very minimal breakdown for you. So, during World War II, the U.S. and the Soviet Union teamed up and fought together as allies against that Axis power that was just mentioned. We did so kind of side-eyeing each other, the U.S. because Stalin, and the Soviet Union because we really didn't take them seriously as a superpower at that time, and they were pissed it took us so long to jump into to World War II, which, to be honest, both sides have some valid points on that.
They do, but we also are not proximity-wise near there.
Right.
I mean, I think it's really easy for us to be like, what the hell?
Right.
Why didn't we go in and deal with that?
But logistically,
also,
by the time...
What the hell?
Right.
Why aren't we going in to deal with Ukraine?
Well, and just by the time the news even came to us, and,
and also,
propaganda.
Who gets to decide
right.
if we get to join a fight we're not in?
Right.
I don't know.
So...
I am going to get email about this.
So
it's complicated.
It really is. and after we played nice through World War II, we would quickly part ways and tension would mount. So the U.S. saw the Soviet Union as a threat and figured that the best strategy against that was something that we would call the containment. Diplomat George...
The containment.
The containment.
Dun, dun, dun.
Diplomat George Kennan would explain the policy in his famous Long Telegram. As such, the Soviet Union, he wrote, was a political force committed fanatically to the belief that with the U.S. there can be no permanent modus vivendi, which means an agreement that parties basically agree to disagree. As a result, America's only choice was the long-term, patient but firm, and vigilant containment of Russian expansive tendencies. It must be the,
that went well,
right? It must be the policy of the United States, he declared before Congress in 1947, to support free peoples who are resisting attempted subjugation by outside pressures. This thought process would pretty much shape American foreign policy for like the next 4 decades, because the Cold War lasted from March 2nd of 1947 through December 26th of 1991.
Yeah.
And it's really pretty impossible to cover the true depth of it and how this played out in just a blurb. But basically, it was a giant pissing contest between nuclear powers. And that went in everything. We're going to get to space first. We're going to do this first. We're going to do that first.
They were literally making phallic-shaped objects to shoot into the sky.
Yes. In 1949, it caused the United States to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, known as NATO, which was the first mutual security and military alliance in American history. The establishment of NATO then caused the Soviet Union to turn around and create an alliance with the communist governments of Eastern Europe that was formalized in 1955 by the Warsaw Pact.
Right.
Germany was divided in half, with East Germany being communist, West Germany not. So during this time, and because of the basically race to obtain and create weapons of mass destruction and be more powerful from a violent military standpoint, the need for spies emerged and actually became crucial to maintaining pretty much world safety. Now, there's several organizations such as the CIA, KGB, and KGB that became synonymous with Cold War espionage, but there were others that played key role in the collection and protection of the section concerning detection of spying and like analysis of like a wide host of intelligence disciplines. But I'm going to focus in on the CIA and specifically the OTS, which is the Office of Technical Service. OTS is formerly known as the Technical Services Division and Technical Services Staff, which is responsible for supporting CIA's clandestine operations with gadgets, disguises, forgeries, secret writings, weapons, all of the fun stuff.
Fun!
Yes. Now, the department origins is dated as having begun September 7th, 1952, but it actually predates the CIA all the way back to the OSS. Based on what it does, many of its successes and failures and more are classified. In 2001, for its 50th anniversary, historian Ben Fisher was given access to some of the records of the OTS and, combined with dozens of interviews, created a discrete glimpse into the history of the OTS. And I have linked that in the show notes and recommend you give it like a little read through. It's kind of interesting. Within the OTS, there is a position that I find to be completely fascinating, and I kid you not, it is called Chief of Disguise. And it's not just one of those like fake titles. Like, it's fucking legit. There is one couple who both held the title at one point. Jonna and Antonio Mendez.
Huh.
Jonna Heistad was born in Campbellsville, Kentucky in 1945. She graduated from high school in Wichita, Kansas, and attended college at Wichita State before she ended up living in Germany for several years, working at the Chase Manhattan Bank. While in Frankfurt in 1966, she was recruited by the CIA in Europe, where she would live undercover and serve tours of duty in Europe, the Far East, the subcontinent, and at the CIA headquarters. In the 70s, she joined the Office of the Technical Services and worked overseas with a specialty in clandestine photography. As a technical operations officer, she also prepared the CIA's most highly placed foreign assets and the use of spy cameras and the processing of the intelligence that was gathered by them. In this role, Jonna developed creative photography skills, which she still uses today, and it's actually pretty cool. So in 1982, she was one of the very few selected for a year-long leadership development program. At this program's completion, she was given a choice among assignments and chose to become a journalist in disguise, identity transformation, and clandestine imaging in South and Southeast Asia.
Cool.
She was assigned, she's so badass, it's unbelievable. She was assigned to the Denied Area Operations for Disguise in 1986, which pretty much dropped her in the most difficult and hostile operating areas in the world, where her and her colleagues had to, like, literally match wits with the overwhelming forces of the KGB in Moscow, the Stasi in East Germany, and the Cuban DGI. In 1988, she was promoted to the Deputy Chief of the Disguise Division, and in 1991, Chief of Disguise. During her tenure as Chief of Disguise, she met with President Bush in a mask disguise, which she then removed in the meeting to demonstrate the effectiveness of the art of disguise.
That's fun.
It is really fun.
That's like an actual Scooby-Doo moment.
It pretty much is. And it's funny because I came across a quote of hers where she was like, I was peeling my face off before Tom Cruise did in a Mission Impossible. And she had like a delightful little smirk on her 73-year-old face.
Yes, please.
In 1993, she retired and was awarded with the CIA's Commendation Medal. Jonna met her future second husband, Tony Mendez, who's also a CIA officer, while assigned in Bangkok. Following Tony's retirement in 1990, they married in 1991 and would have a son together. Now, I want to stress that Jonna paved the way as a woman in a very much a man's world, and she is still just freaking amazing. She admitted that she faced internal barriers from time to time in the male-dominated field of intelligence. She says one of her male bosses disliked her and sabotaged her preparation for an important overseas mission.
Why would you do that?
Oh.
That is sabotaging your literal country.
Seriously. He was trying to get me fired on that particular assignment, she recalls. He told me the mission was all about photography. It took all my photo stuff, but it wasn't about photos. It was about disguise. The mission was deemed a smoking bolt operation, where the CIA team, of which Jonna was part of, would extract a highly protected, top-secret Soviet communication device. The name Smoking Bolt alluded to the operation's theft aspect, meaning the only thing left would be the smoking bolts where the device had been fastened down.
And some asshole who had a sad boner was like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this entire thing up just because I'm mad that a lady's better than me?
He tried. So,
oh, sad boner.
Now, what her job was supposed to be then was to disguise the group along with an indigenous man that was helping the CIA. So, she arrived completely unprepared, having brought, like, none of her usual equipment in terms of, creating disguises. After gathering all the CIA agents in the office, she asked them to quickly bring her all of their wives' makeup, which she used to hide the local asset's identity. She also sifted through the rudimentary disguise kits in the office and found an unusual product for the operation. This local man had black hair, she said. I taped the can up so he couldn't see that it was Dr. Scholl's foot powder. That's all I had. I combed it into his hair and his hair turned wonderfully gray and it worked. She says, that can of Dr. Scholl's foot powder is now on display at the International Spy Museum.
I've been there.
Have you? Oh, that's fun. So not only did she...
At least if it's the one in Washington, D.C., yeah.
Yep. So not only did she disguise the asset, but she also created credible false documentation after photographing his new look. Like, she knew that it was actually the credentials in this case, not his face, that were going to undergo the most scrutiny. So the ID had to be perfect balance of authentic, worn, dirty, and blurred to be believable. In her book Spy Dust, Jonna wrote, "It had taken me most of the night to produce the smudged and abraded identity document. The real problem had been finding fresh photochemicals in this little off-the-beaten-path wreck of a third-world city. To make the card look realistic and weathered," she wrote, "she poured hot coffee on it, laid it on the garage floor, and rubbed it on the cement with her shoe. In the end," she said, "the operation was successful, and it was a big, big deal."
Wow.
So,
that's awesome.
It is really awesome. So Jonna continues to act as a consultant to the U.S. intelligence community, and she is a founding member of the board of advisors at the International Spy Museum in D.C.
That's cool. Can we be friends with her?
Right. Seriously.
I want to get an email.
Yeah.
Just be like, yo, you're awesome.
Seriously.
Well done.
So Tony Mendez was born November 15th, 1940 in Eureka, Nevada, but moved to Colorado as a teen. He graduated from Inglewood High School and then studied art at the University of Colorado.
Now I have California love stuck in my head.
He worked as an artist after college, as an illustrator and a tool designer for a large aerospace firm. Mm-hmm. And then in 1965, he answered a blind ad for a graphic artist.
Cool.
Turns out he was then hired by the CIA and became an espionage artist for the Technical Services Division, where he specialized in identity, document forgery, and creating disguises. He also worked as an officer in South Asia, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East, and served in the CIA for 25 years. Now, in 1980, where you actually may know of him, is what became known as the Canadian Caper. Mendez traveled to Iran to rescue 6 American diplomats who had taken refuge at the Canadian embassy after the U.S. embassy was overrun and the disruption related to the overthrow of the government.
Oh,
Mendez was,
casual.
Part of the strategy to extract the diplomats by passing them off as a Canadian film crew, having received passports and supporting documents from the Canadian government to identify them as such.
Cool.
He was awarded the Intelligence Star on March 12th, 1980, for his efforts in leading the rescue mission, which we'll actually get to a little bit more in just a second. But by the time Tony retired, the Cold War was over, and he had been promoted to SIS-2, which is the equivalent of a 2-star general in the military. He'd earned the CIA's Intelligence Medal of Merit, as well as the Intelligence Star and 2 certificates of distinction. At the 50th anniversary of the CIA, he was one of the 50 officers chosen from the tens of thousands who had worked at the CIA over the years, and he was awarded the Luminaries Trailblazer Medallion. In October of 2000, he was then awarded the Order of the Sphinx, which is the Inter-Allied Distinguished Service Cross for serving the Allied cause for freedom behind enemy lines. He also continued to act as a consultant to the U.S. intelligence community and published articles in their journals. He was invited on a regular basis to act as a keynote speaker for the CIA and DIA training courses, as well as participating in the distinguished lecture series of the Joint Intelligence College of Department of Defense.
Well,
he was involved in 22 different documentaries, including works for Discovery, Travel Channel, the Canadian History Channel, AMC, and a PBS piece entitled Escape from Iran, The Hollywood Connection, which most recently aired marking the 25th anniversary of the Iran hostage crisis. Mm-hmm. 2 for the Travel Channel, including Secrets of the International Spy Museum and Washington, D.C. City of Spies. Work for the Discovery Channel included a 1-hour show entitled The Master of Deception, which actually chronicled the espionage exploits of him and his wife. They together have lectured to various World Affairs Councils and colleges and universities, at the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency and Joint Military Intelligence College. And they have also written 3 books together, one of which is named Argo. That covered Tony's rescue of the American diplomats and was actually made into an Academy Award-winning movie that won Best Picture in 2013. Ben Affleck played Tony. One of my favorite quotes from Jonna is, "They tried to make Ben Affleck as handsome as my husband."
Oh.
Right? Just, love her.
I just want to hug her.
Right? The most recent book, The Moscow Rules, covers their experiences working for the CIA, specifically in Moscow, during the Cold War.
Whirl.
Now, it was released May 21st of 2019. Sadly, though, Tony passed away on January 19th, 2019 from complications of Parkinson's disease, and he was 28 at the time. The myriad of work that Tony left behind is just amazing, and I've got some links in the show notes. I've got a ton of links in the show notes for, like, videos of Jonna's, like, TED Talks, and just, oh my god. She's done some really fun work for, like, Wired, breaking down spy scenes in Hollywood as to whether they'd work or not.
How old did you say he was when he died?
He was 78.
Oh, you said 28.
Did I?
I was like, wait a minute.
Oh my
that doesn't make any sense.
No, he was 78. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So, listening to Jonna, the art of disguise, like, the biggest thing is that it goes far and beyond a fake nose or dyeing your hair. The goal is to not only change your appearance, which is everything from your profile to your gait, but also to make you, well, forgivable, like nothing special. But it has to be done in a way that, she's like, it's hard because accents very easily wear off. If you try to change your walk just on its own, you forget and go back to your natural gait. Whereas she's like, now, if I'm trying to change my walk, I will put a pebble in my shoe. I can't not walk a different way when I have that in there. So her top 10 CIA disguise tips are: 1, blend in. You don't want to be noticed. If you have time, buy local clothing. 2, change your hair. If you can't color it or wear a wig, a change of style may help change your appearance. There is one, I don't know what movie it was, but Claire Danes was the actress, and she, like, just dyed her hair black, and that was it. She's like, yeah, that's it. That's not a good disguise. She very much looks the same, just with darker hair.
Goth Claire Danes.
Right. Avoid fake mustaches. If you're going to be uncomfortable or at the risk of perspiring, you need to avoid any extra facial hair. Which makes sense, because that's going to make your face twitch and you're going to look uncomfortable with it. Glasses. Horn-rimmed glasses can change a face. Makeup. Makeup can be a game changer for men and women to smooth out a rough complexion. And I have watched so many drag queens now that I know contouring can completely change your freaking face too. Same with cosplayers. Cosplayers can change their face too. It's just amazing what makeup can actually do. Accessorizing. If you are like a nondescript man, but you happen to be carrying a leather portfolio and a cigar, somebody's going to remember the leather portfolio on the cigar. They're not going to remember anything else about you because it stands out. Footwear. Be careful with your footwear because you can often tell where someone is from based on their shoes. Less can be more. You don't need a full Mission Impossible style face mask. Your disguise should allow you to smoke, talk, eat, drink, and use your phone. And then there's her big theory that you hear in a lot of things that you listen to and read by her is think of disguise as an onion. Whether you're building it or peeling it off, you're dealing with layers. When you have the right amount, you either disappear and another person is in the room. So there's a video that showed this guy in a suit, and within a matter of just like seconds as he's walking and briefly he turns around the corner and it's like, boom, totally different person, t-shirt, headphones, sunglasses, hat, like just different person altogether. But most importantly, own it. Just as important as your disguise is your demeanor. Stride in like you own the room and that character. This includes mannerisms. And she points out in the movie Inglourious Bastards that a spy was outed in a pub by the way he held up his 3 fingers because he did it in the English way, not the European way, because Europeans start, with their thumb, they count differently on their hands than we do. And that completely outed him. Like, if you are taking on a persona and a character, you need to actually know it and own it. And if you get outed, you're outed. Like, there's no way you can, say you've got a You gotta be strong in who you are.
And there's so many small details that you wouldn't even think to notice because they're just how you are.
Right. The cadence of your speech. Just so many different things. And that's the thing, too, is that she showed, there's a video where they show different dental appliances. And you would think, okay, teeth, not just teeth. There's like retainers that you put in to make your speech sound different. Mm-hmm. And because it's an appliance, it's being worn in your mouth, it's consistent. So you don't have to remember to try to have that change of speech.
Oh, yeah.
And then
my retainer makes me sound different.
I like the retainers where you have too much spit in your mouth, so you talk like that. That's my favorite.
My retainers just make me lisp more than I already lisp.
And she did cover the invention of the cyanide capsule, and she did, there's a pen, one of the videos, there's a pen, they show the pen, and somebody was captured, and he asked to write his confession before, they went in on the interrogation, and he bit the end of the pencil and was dead before he hit the floor. Wow. So, yeah, it was intense. There's some really intense stuff, and it was really, really hard to not go... They could be a whole episode of their own, like just so many things off of it. And I know that it's not entirely telling of how the disguises and stuff were done. But I just find them fascinating and fucking delightful. And I think, and seriously, she's up there giving a TED Talk in like 2020. So she's in her 70s.
Yeah.
And she can't tell, like she's just amazing. And to listen to the stories and what she has seen and been through, and the photos of her all over the world when she was younger doing these things, and just thinking that here this kid from Colorado answers a blind ad for graphic design, and he ends up having a movie eventually made after him, and how he extracted American people from a Canadian embassy in Iran, and and she was working at a bank, just how their lives and the impact. And there was one, I think it's one of her TED Talks, where she was talking about okay, so you go through all of this stuff, and how do you know that it actually works? And there was one, so she talked about how no matter who you are, no matter where you're at during this time, you were being followed. They knew who you were and you were being followed. And they created this thing called the Jack in the Box. So basically you had to get the timing right. So you had to get far enough ahead of the person that was driving, chasing you or tailing you, and preferably around the corner. The passenger with the information jumps out and rolls and hits a button, and in the place this mannequin body pops up with the hair, the face mask, everything looks exactly like it. So there's no way to tell that person's not in there anymore. It looks like that person's still in the vehicle. And, right? And one of these times they did this, they ended up getting some information about Russia that saved our government billions of dollars and time of research to get a hold on knowing what they had on a particular thing. Just from that. So just that one instance alone, and the amount of money that it saved, she's like, yeah, it was worth it. All this stuff was worth it. And they've done work.
That's cool.
She's done some work with Hollywood people. I still think it's hilarious when she just made that little dig at Tom Cruise. It was adorable. But yeah, and she just watching her go through, there's the video has 30 different scenes from movies and TV shows. And she's either yes, that's clever, or yes, that worked, or no, that would never work. So it's cute to hear her go through them and stuff. And then she does have one where she goes through gadgets in movies too. I stayed away from the gadget thing, and I was a little worried we'd end up overlapping on it, but she did. So there's some stuff on gadgets in there too. But I highly encourage. And I'm sure he's wonderful too, but I ended up focusing more on her, just because I think it's important that women get recognized. Yes, he did some amazing things. She did too, and she did it in a field where one of her fucking superiors didn't care if it blew an entire mission to make her look like an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, it...
Yeah, you don't do that shit during the Cold War.
Seriously.
I mean, you don't do that shit ever, but, like...
There's a little part of me that hopes that when she got back to wherever that guy was, that she hauled off and clocked him. I'm sure she didn't, because she seems like a real classy lady. But I'm just saying, if it were me, I probably would have ended up punching him.
I mean, it's even better when real classy ladies do it.
Yeah,
though.
she's just delightful. And
or just, like, dropped the ID or whatever that she made
right,
in front of him
yeah.
and walked out.
And the Dr. Scholl's. She does, I think I put a podcast. She does so much. She's very active.
Cool.
So there's some podcast episodes I put in there for a link. You could literally just listen to her for hours. And, yeah. So that's my story of Jonna and Antonio Mendez, and good on Tony too. And
that's cool.
And R.I.P. Tony. You did the world wonderful, and I think it's amazing that they found each other and fell in love. They both held the same position, the chief of disguise, like 10 years apart from each other, and I just think
I like it.
And just that love story alone, I can't even. It's so romantic, and that should be a movie. Like, just meeting somebody in this and working with him in that capacity, and then they waited until he retired before they, it just, there's some more story in there. So I can't wait. I've ordered the Moscow Rules, because I'm real excited to read that.
Yeah.
But I would love to see, I would love to see a movie honoring them and their lives and their achievements, and not just Argonne, because I'm going to have to watch that movie now too, but I just want to learn more and know more, because, my gosh.
They seem so cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I feel like I need action figures of them.
Right? Oh my god, I would totally like have
with
it.
Costumes and...
Yes. Little disguises.
Mm-hmm.
So, I believe that brings us to the weekly worst way to die.
We almost were similar that time.
Wow.
All right, so what's yours?
Mine is having, my fake nose fall off while I'm face to face with the enemy, or what would probably be more par for the course for me is just ending up having, some severe allergic reaction to a prosthetic adhesive.
Oh, yeah.
And just,
that would take me out.
Just, because I found out after birthing my eldest that I was allergic to different surgical tapes, and it's whatever.
Oh, me too.
Whatever
I currently have a mark on my arm from that exact thing.
I had that all over around my incision from my C-section. So,
that's not a great place to have contact dermatitis.
No, that was not fun. So that's, that's mine. What about you?
Exploding rat.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I feel like that is the only obvious choice for me.
Indeed.
Exploding rat.
I'm going to see if I can find the action scene from that movie. And put it in the show notes.
You weren't talking about exploding rats. Don't try to buy an exploding rat.
No.
I mean, do it, but also don't do it.
Keep it away from your cats.
Yes.
And on that note,
well, they didn't care about the bat.
That's true. That is true.
I don't think they noticed the bat yet.
I don't know if mine would have or not. It's hard to tell sometimes. But hey, do you want to be spooky internet friends?
Only if I'm on the right page. Which I am.
Yay! Mm-hmm. You can find us on that page, and you can find us at Bones and Bobbins on all of the social medias, all of the places, or just stop by bonesandbobbins.com.
It's true. Yeah, and don't forget to rate and review this podcast, because it pleases the internet gremlins And that's how we show up in recommendations so that other morbid souls can find us.
Bring forth the morbid souls.
Yeah, like yesterday.
Yeah. And on that note, let us leave you with some advice that you should never forget. Mm-hmm. Lock your doors.
And don't run with scissors.
Or maybe pencil knives.
Ooh, definitely don't run with those.
Yeah.
You'll poke an eye out.
You'll poke an eye out.
Yeah.
And eyes are helpful.
It's true. They are. All right. I think that's going to be good.
That is.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Each episode of the Bones and Bobbins podcast is written and researched by Haley Pearson Cox and Natalie Hoyce. Our music was composed by Loyalty Freak Music. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bones and Bobbins. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, or check us out wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts so you won't miss a minute of our strange and creepy content.